Davi-tech-media. Subscribe to Davi-tech-media. Davi-tech-media. Subscribe to Davi-tech-media.
2017 on Zambia, particularly the case of one Attentively, who happens to be myself, was a mark of true solidarity and real commitment to protecting human rights. I remain indebted to you for standing up for human rights and freedom, not only for myself and my co-accused, but for all of the people of the Republic of Zambia, under extremely difficult circumstances that we faced at the time. I thank you most sincerely for this question. Truly, the people of Zambia thank you for taking a principled position on the promotion of human rights in our country and indeed on our continent. The Zambia 2021 elections deserve my comment. Our comment. Honorable members, Zambia's general elections held last year in August. In the face of economic hardships, it was difficult for ordinary people to make such a democratic decision as they did in our favor. And it's clearly, we owe the people of Zambia a huge gratitude for that. And they decided that they wanted change for better livelihoods, given the circumstances that they faced. This was not only merely an election, but a call to action, a call for change. The youth, I must say, who made 56% of our registered voters, were at the heart of this call for change. I must acknowledge that, and we thank them for that. They showed leadership, courage, determination, at a time when Zambia needed those qualities the most, because democracy was under threat at that particular time. On a continent where far too often elections turn out violent, but in our country we were able to go through a smooth, non-violent transition. Once again, because our country has done it several other times since 1991, when we moved from a one-party state control to democracy, peaceful change then, peaceful change in 2011, peaceful change in 2021. Really credit goes to the people of Zambia for being resilient and for their love for democracy. This is what is Zambia known for. This is who we are. And we intend to continue on this path on our continent, which sometimes is described negatively. Not sometimes, but most of the time, I must say. Honorable members, as we reflect on this achievement, I wish to once again express our sincere gratitude to the European Union, yourselves. Again, because our country has done it several other times since 1991, when we moved from a one-party state control to a democracy, peaceful change then, peaceful change in 2011, peaceful change in 2021. Really credit goes to the people of Zambia for being resilient and for their love for democracy. This is what is Zambia known for. This is who we are. And we intend to continue on this path on our continent, which sometimes is described negatively, if not sometimes, but most of the times, I must say. Honorable members, as we reflect on this achievement, I wish to once again express our sincere gratitude to the European Union, yourselves, who together with others deployed a physical observer mission in our country to observe elections led by one of you here, the honorable member of this House, Madam Maria Arena. Thank you to you, Madam, and your team. The observer mission was a continuation of the long-standing relationship that we've had with the European Union and a clear demonstration of commitment by yourselves to supporting Zambia's democratic process. Well acknowledged and appreciated. On behalf of the people of Zambia, I wish to place on record our deep sense of gratitude to you in the EU, who once again demonstrated your commitment to working alongside us in our quest for development under difficult circumstances. We thank you for that. Let me address the issues of human rights, governance, and anti-corruption in our country. Honorable members, in Zambia, we inherited a very difficult situation, and Zambia, at a time of elections, was on the brink of economic collapse, where corruption, excess, and greed of public officials reigned supreme. No one stood in their way. They got what they wanted, yet they were supposed to be servants of the people, not to be served, but they chose to be served. So much short-sighted policies were put in place, designed to extract maximum benefit for the few at the expense of the many, where the order of the day was basically converting public resources into private hands. Really an unacceptable situation. In the Zambia, we inherited freedom of expression, freedom of association, civic participation was curtailed. Our democratic institutions designed to ensure checks and balances were compromised, ladies and gentlemen, honorable members of this House, and reduced to mere instruments of dominance for those who held power. Very evident. It is against that backdrop that I stand here to firmly attest that the rule of law, following the changes in our elections in August, the rule of law and respect for human rights are a matter of priority in terms of their restoration. And we did just that, as one of our major pronouncements after taking office was to indicate to all citizens that community violence, political thuggery was unacceptable. And anyone who engaged in that, from then the ruling party at the time, or from our own party, would be on their own. And that signified the end of community violence. And today, Zambians can move freely at bus stops, at markets, widows, single mothers, trading to take care of their children without violence, which we experienced only 11 months ago. Leadership, in our view, is key in these areas. I must say, Zambia's reputation for peace and democracy is a source of great pride to us, which our administration will continue to protect and safeguard. The peace, stability, and unity of our beloved nation is not up for any negotiation at any cost. And we want to make sure that as we progress managing public affairs, we strengthen institutions so that in future no one comes again with such heavy-handedness. I think it's important for us.
It will shut because it has failed to operate commercially. That will be the only reason, or indeed other reasons, not political shutdowns, which we experienced. We're committed to this because it's important to provide checks and balances. Every single Zambian is welcome to participate in the governance of our country. It is the right of every citizen, and our government will lead by this. The state of our country in terms of democratic governance, economic performance, and upholding human rights, as I've said already, demands that we take all action to arrest its decline, which we inherited at the time. This is why we have placed reform at the very top of our agenda. Amongst the critical issues that we place particular attention is the legislative reform, as I said, to curtail excesses of the past. It's important that we just don't legislate, but we also strengthen institutions, oversight institutions, because it's not possible to legislate and expect results without actually ensuring compliance. And compliance is better delivered by institutions that will outlast the political party in office. Very important to us. Honourable members, as part of these reforms and in response to extensive recommendations
yet again, I must say, by the EU Observer Mission. I see her seated over there. Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Your extensive recommendations by your mission and others, our government will undertake, is already started, undertaking significant electoral reforms. Electoral reforms that will tackle inherent weaknesses in the system and mainly to progress towards increasing the independence of our electoral commission, our electoral board, because this is important to ensure participation of citizens is guaranteed, transparency is guaranteed at all levels of political competitive elected offices, grassroots up to the presidency. Very important to us. We comment a little bit about our youth. Honorable members, as an administration, we regard our election not as a triumph, but as a challenge. Very important. Our challenge over the next 5 years is to lay the foundations that will see a prosperous future for Zambia's future generations. It is important to us that we must and we will tap into and enhance the innovation, wonder of the youth who hold enormous potential in developing new and inventive responses to the challenges that we face as a country. Our children and youth are our future. As it is here in your question about it, it is in them that we shall invest in the coming years. Invest probably disproportionately higher in skills development amongst our youth. But it's very, very important that we do that. And we want to rebuild our economy and repair the social fabric of our country to create opportunities, as I said, for skills, for jobs, for self-employment for our youth. This is why our administration has made primary, ladies and gentlemen, and secondary education completely free. Even in a challenged environment with a restricted treasury, our first budget delivered free education, universal education for all our children, especially children from disadvantaged families and underprivileged families. We have a debate going on in Zambia at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, where the colleagues in the opposition, probably rightly so, are saying that our policy of free education has failed. And why? Because there's over-enrollment in the classrooms. There are more pupils than ever before the policy was introduced. And we have responded and said, it's a clear demonstration that children were not in school before the free education policy was implemented. Our challenge now is to buy more desks, to build more classroom space, and we are committed to doing that. I think this is the level we see the importance of the youth and truly retooling the youth for their future development. Ladies and gentlemen, coupled with the free education, we have also increased what we call Constituent Development Fund to basically decentralize resource allocation to match the local priorities of our people in the constituencies, all of the constituencies across the country. And then they will decide what is the priority for development for them. And this government, our government, has allocated resources to allow them to implement those developmental priorities that they decided upon. Never happened before. Never happened before. Just to give you a contrast, 11 months ago, the Constituent Development Fund in our local currency was 1.6 million pounds. Nothing. In our first budget, we've increased this to 25.7 million pounds, close to $1.6 million per constituency, to be decided by the local people. Fundamental. You may not see it that way here because we're a bigger economy, but it's basically life-changing in our country. Let me comment a little bit on our economy and Zambia-EU cooperation. It's very important that we comment on this. Honorable members, the performance of the Zambian economy over the last decade has been on a downward trajectory. The rising cost of basic commodities, the order of the day, cost of fuel, inflation, poor economic policies, as I mentioned earlier, they basically left our economy on its knees before we took office. Our country, yet with so much wealth in terms of potential, was reduced to abject poverty. Our people were reduced to abject poverty. This is unacceptable 58 years after independence. Repairing, therefore, restoring and reviving our economy will therefore be the main marker of our government's performance. That will be the main marker. As the government, we want to make sure that our people are considered first as public servants, which you are yourself in this part. Our people come first. They are to serve, not to be served by them. A clear contrast from the previous regime. This is our priority and the bedrock upon which we want to develop policies around. This is a change that drove us to be ushered into office. And this is it. That's what we have to work with. We are committed to becoming a more productive and industrious country over the years to come. Zambia has a lot of capacity to produce quality goods and services for the EU and other regional and global markets. We therefore seek favorable trade and investment relationship with yourself and Europe for mutual benefit. Very important to us. Small, medium enterprises are crucial to us in this regard. We want to make sure that these become part of the building blocks for our economic revival going forward. We look to you, our partners. I shall repeat this. We look to you, our partners, to work with us to establish financial assistance packages that aid research, development, technology, and skills that will create new and sustainable Zambian small, medium enterprises. We look to working with you as the EU to help us to improve access to credit for SMEs through initiatives such as the Global Investment Package, which will lead to increased industrialization, agricultural production, manufacturing, trade, and sustainable energy sources for our SMEs. This is the surest and most sustainable way of creating meaningful employment and, of course, diversifying our economy. We are encouraged by the first ever, ladies and gentlemen, we are encouraged by the first ever Zambia-EU Economic Forum, which we recently held in Lusaka under the theme Economic Transformation through Green Growth. We're very, very enthused about this occasion, and it was the first of its kind between the EU and Zambia. Very, very encouraging to us. This important engagement, which brought together entrepreneurs, corporate institutions, financial institutions from Europe, obviously working with our own people, our own enterprises in Zambia, very, very highly appreciated. And we expect that it will become an annual event going forward.
Subscribe to Davi-tech-media. Davi-tech-media. Subscribe to Davi-tech-media.